I've always been writing, and this story is more about Namibia than probably any of the stories I've written so far.
Yeah. So, the National Arts Council of Namibia, with the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, hosted the very first National Literary Festival in September. And learners and literature enthusiasts came together under the theme Open a Book to celebrate Namibian stories as well as Namibian voices. The National Arts Council of Namibia put out a call for original short stories and poetry submissions, receiving nearly 200 submissions, from which winning stories and poems were selected. So joining us on Culture Talk in studio today is Kay-Leigh De Souza, the winner of the fiction category for her piece Still Life, and she's going to tell us more about that. Good morning, Kay-Leigh.
Hi, Treza. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you in here and not just seeing you in the office. All right, so congratulations, first of all. I guess that's the first thing that we need to get out of the way. Congratulations, of course, winning the fiction category for this first ever National Literary Festival that took place in September. So you are a writer. Firstly, tell us about your interest for writing and also a bit about the story that you've entered in this first National Literary Festival.
I've always been a writer, and like you said, I'm here in the office. I write for Tripire Studios, for One Africa, for 99 FM, and writing fiction is like actually what ignites me. It's really what excites me, because somehow you can put some scribbles on a page and you can create a whole story. You can create lives in another person's mind, which is kind of phenomenal for me. And obviously I want to tell stories that represent where we live and the kinds of lives that we live. And part of being in Namibia is experiencing, over the last few years, we've had a drought that then broke at some point in 2020. Around there seemed to be like suddenly all this rain that came. And so Still Life is a story about a woman who's doing what she can to try and keep her garden going and keep her life going during the drought. And when the rain does come, it has some surprising results. It's not what she expects to happen. And just trying to bring across the feeling of being in Namibia, of smelling the first drops of rain and the dust that it throws up. So I think I've always been writing, and this story is more about Namibia than probably any of the stories I've written so far.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I didn't know there were different types of literacy. Can you elaborate? Because I really didn't know that. There's functional literacy, digital, and cultural. Can you just maybe elaborate a little bit on that and what the differences are between them?
The way I see literacy is, or illiteracy rather, is it's a type of blindness. Imagine walking through a shop and not being able to read the product information and the specials and the posters around you. It's a type of blindness to not be able to see those things. And so that, I would imagine, is a sort of functional literacy. And then digital literacy gets a lot of attention now, how to use a computer, how to interact with...
everything is moving online now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's very important, but that's its own type and has its own goals. Whereas I think actually being able to read, and to not just read functionally, like the information on the poster, but to be able to read a story and immerse yourself in that fictional world, it requires something called suspension of disbelief. You have to allow all of the reasons why you would not believe the story to actually take a back seat and just immerse yourself in the story.
Yeah.
And it can be very powerful because it can teach you about lives that you have not lived. So you cannot understand what it is like, for example, to be in a wheelchair, but you can read a story about somebody in a wheelchair and it can give you empathy for their lifestyle.
An understanding, yes. Yeah. All right, we're going to quickly go for a quick musical break. When we come back, we're going to continue with Kay-Leigh talking about her, winning the fiction category, and also just the importance of literacy, in school education and all of that right after this musical break. It is Treza in the morning for the next couple of minutes. We are busy with Culture Talk, and that's Friday with Lost My Way from his self-titled album that also recently dropped. Definitely an album you definitely need to listen to. If you're just tuning in right now, the National Arts Council of Namibia with the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, they recently hosted the very first National Literary Festival. That was in September, and we joined in studio by Kay-Leigh De Souza, who was the winner of the fiction category, and she's just, giving us a bit of feedback on her passion for writing, and of course, just finding out more about the festival and what else they have planned for the rest of the year. Kay-Leigh, can you also just share with us, in your opinion, what you think some of the common challenges or barriers to achieving literacy specifically in Namibia?
I think the main challenge that we're going to face is lack of books. Namibia is so sparsely populated that getting books to every region and every part of the country and getting enough books. I read a statistic once that said a 5-year-old child should have access to 100 books.
Wow.
In order to really grow their vocabulary, grow their reading, and that's just not feasible, so I think that's the main barrier. But what I think this National Literary Festival has done is said this is a priority for us as a country, and we want to grow the number of Namibian stories that we have, because representation is also really important. To see Namibia, to see your country, your town, your people in a story is really, really important in order for you to really connect with that story. So I think that's the main thing. But with this festival starting, and with the things that the National Arts Council wants to do to actually teach people about how to write stories and how to read stories and enjoy them more, I think that's going to be tackled
as well. Yeah,
along the way.
I think also, just to add on your point, Kay-Leigh, I think another, common challenge could also be just reading culture at home. Nowadays, social media, it's internet, it's TikTok, it's so many things happening right now that, books are just the thing of the past right now, because everything is online. So I think also just creating that reading culture from a young age. I don't think 100 books obviously would be, plausible for a lot of parents, but just starting somewhere at a young age, even if it's just a storybook with pictures in it, stuff like that. So I think that can also be another way we can, start bringing back that culture of reading, because
what digital media has done is it's kind of shortened our attention spans. And so I have a 10-year-old daughter, and one of the things that I do to try and encourage her to read, she is a phenomenal reader on her own, but she gets to stay up late if she's reading.
Oh, is that the perk?
That's the perk. So she can stay up past her bedtime so long as she's reading, and so long as tomorrow she can tell me what she read. And I think that's one way. If you have books around and you want to encourage your kids, is to make it a perk and not a chore.
Something fun. Yeah, I like that. All right, Kay-Leigh, before we let you go, just, some of the strategies, that you mentioned that the festival will also be having for the year to promote literacy at various stages of development, from early childhood to adulthood. What are some of those plans and things in the pipeline?
So I can't speak on behalf of them at this stage, but I'm very excited about the idea of many little activities leading up to the next festival. Little activities of workshops that we can do with children and with adults, and even going into the National Library and just reading to children.
I like that. Also, can we do spelling? Because I know we do spelling bees, but can we do spelling bees on a national level?
There was one at the festival,
really?
And they had some really tough words. Those kids were spelling really tough words, and they chose words with silent letters and all the rest. And these kids were doing it. I was very impressed.
And I think that also is also a great way to have fun with reading. You also learn at the same time. At the same time, you get to show off your skills. You get to also just win something, and you get to make your mom and your dad proud.
Exactly.
At the same time.
It was very cool.
All right, so where can we get more information, Kay-Leigh? Just, in terms of the festival and in terms of things that they do have planned for that, where can we get that information?
I think starting off with the National Arts Council of Namibia's social media, to stay to follow them and to see what they're up to, because they will put out a call for the next festival for submissions. And I mean, they had so many, they were really surprised. They gave about 3 weeks notice and they had so many submissions. So I think for the next one, they're expecting many, many more. So I would check their social media. As soon as the submissions open, I would
definitely jump and submit. Kay-Leigh, thank you so much for coming to share with us, and once again, congratulations on winning the fiction category. So you're definitely more fiction and not non-fiction. You don't do non-fiction
I
at
write
all.
non-fiction for my day job. So I do a lot of non-fiction, and I think it influences my fiction, definitely. I would rather, although I would love the idea of writing a memoir with someone as a ghostwriter.
You can do that for me. Write my memoir.
We go.
Please write my memoir.
Please.
Kay-Leigh, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. That was, of course, Culture Talk here on your Inspiration Station. If you missed out on the interview, you can always go and listen again on the app, and also check out our socials, because we are going to post a little link where you can also go watch it on YouTube. It's